Alright, okay, yeah, I know. The Terrible Incredibles 2. Bit of a title, a complete dick move of a clickbait, but hear me out. Give me at least a minute before you crucify me, alright? The Incredibles 1 is my favorite movie of all time. It is just phenomenal, and rewatching it as an adult only made me love it more when actually picking up some of the more nuanced dialogue that went over young me's head.
You married Elastigirl? Oh, and got busy!
I adore this IP, and I was devastated for years when Pixar was announcing all these sequels without including Incredibles. But then it finally comes around, and fun fact, it was such a hyped project for me, it literally pulled me back onto YouTube as a platform. Seriously, look back and you'll see right after finishing my uni stuff, I came right back from a long hiatus on this channel just to discuss everything Incredibles 2. And it is not a terrible movie. What? But you just said in the title that it is a terrible Incredibles movie. Am I still a dick for debating you this way? I mean, maybe. Do you still plan to crucify me? I mean, I have the hair for it now. But let's do a super dive in to compare the two Incredibles and discuss the pitfalls of one over the other. I'm in a bit of a Pixar phase this week thanks to Lightyear, so prep yourself for that. It's the Terrible Incredibles 2. Let's begin with the opening scenes. Whilst the original Incredibles takes us over to the glory days of the 40s with superheroes in full swing, TV interviews, a chunk of drama, and finishing with a wedding, it becomes a display of everything this world has to offer. Its character dynamics, the political tension, superpowers, drama, a little comedy, and some gorgeous color work. But the very point of that movie was to not be hodled onto the old days of nostalgia and be present for the present. The sequel takes us right to moments after the ending of the first, which is fine. I mean, it was what I as a kid wanted to see paid off, since it's technically a cliffhanger, but at the same time, story-wise, it can be a little restrictive for what can be done. Leave this for the video game. Even a year could have made for some changes to feel a little more natural in effect, but whatever. Both of these intros are about 11 minutes long, but when it comes to the actual display, Incredibles 2's isn't so bad. You got plenty of superpowers, a fun, energetic villain and fight scene. The character dynamics are there, and I enjoy the role each player gets to have. Except for Dash, who mostly just shows up. But with placing events immediately afterwards, characters now have to continue on the direct plot lines at the end of the first movie. Dash now has to be running high off of his second place revelation, and Violet better have that date. But also, they've still only been in action once, so when Vi comes running down the street to just blast out some projectile shield now, sure, it's cool, but it's unearned. When did she learn that? The smallest of time skips could have fixed this. Oh, also, the real prologue comes from Tony Ridinger getting the Men in Black treatment, same as Kari from the first spin-off short, which is alright, but not exactly thrilling, especially since it's mostly the same lines and all.
Have you told anyone else about this? Your parents? Sure, kid. Sure, kid.
Nah, I just wish
I could forget I ever saw her in that suit.
You will, kid. You will.
I'll have what they're having. But enough of the openings, let's get into the meat of them both. For the next 30 minutes, both films take an immensely different approach to their plot lines, which is of course the case, but also in their direction too. The vibes are totally different for how these two movies want to present themselves. Like, look at this! The plotline that gets covered in the sequel movie is this. The family have a small disagreement at dinner, the parents discuss getting back into the real world, they're given a proposition for hero work, and Elastigirl is the star play at launch. They move to a new house, Bob becomes the stay-at-home parent for 2 days. In that time, we see Vi has become the snarky teenager, Jack is hinting at his escape, and Dash needs help with homework. Meanwhile, Elastigirl is out for the second action sequence, showing off a new motorcycle, chasing down a train, and winning. Jack is visibly escaping more, Vi is more sad because of Tony not calling her in the background, Dash isn't around, Jack for action scene 3 is fighting a raccoon, showing off to us the multitude of powers, exactly what we've been wanting more of after that one Jack attack shot. And also, Vi is sadly getting ice cream, Dash is asleep, and Bob is frustrated on how bad his day is and good Helen's is, even though this specific mission benefits him in the long run. This is the pretty standard setup you already know for the movie. It's what all the marketing was about. Elastigirl fights crime and Bob tackles the family. Wow, fine. Except when you actually compare to what the original covers as well as the flair it added to every scene, the differences are stark. So let me wrap this one up for you. In the same 30 minutes, The Incredibles 1 has us witness Bob at Insuracare, making it not boring by hiding the advice he gives and his eccentric boss character. We get school with another eccentric character in the teacher.
Guilty!
as well as the premise of a superpowered prank. On the ride out, we're given a thematic message that comes back later.
Everyone's special, Dash. Which is another way of saying no one is.
And then with Vi's romantic interest, there's establishment as well as more superpower usage. Now sure, they probably show the powers here just to establish the kids, but at the same time, using superpowers in their personal slices of life makes for a far more interesting thing to see, right? Poke back to the follow-up and there's just none of that. Every scene the kids are in, they're just normal kids. Or if they are using powers...
Did you wash your hands?
It still just looks normal, boringly done. What makes the slice of life so interesting in The Incredibles is how super their lives are naturally. It's gripping. Every time Bob is parking his car, he's accidentally showing his brute strength. Whenever the family get into an argument at the table, it erupts into this cacophony. But in the sequel, it's just... This is taking relatable a bit too far. Other Incredi-1 plot points, Bob is in traffic. Mundane, yet humorous visually. Post-dinner, Bob's getting the main plotline of his secret mission. It's not an exposition dump of people standing around and talking. It's technology scanning. The camera spinning to be upright. It's Helen through the door talking in the background, and Bob frantically trying to make a note of it all. Frozone arrives with a bit of icicle flair, as opposed to just a shadow walking in. And even down to the delivery, it's just so much more energetic and youthful in the first film, considering it's been, what, like 3 months since these two scenes? Bob prepping for fire shouts, "Yeah, baby! Woo-hoo! Fire! Yeah!" And now he's... Pow, pow, pow! Now maybe that one's a bit more on the realistic age of the voice actors, but it's across the board that all of these characters are just much less emotive this time around. Except for Dash, who can't stop screaming. Still, at the 23-minute mark, we get the second action sequence, a burning building. Played with bombastically loud music underneath, followed by the more delicate jewelry shop confrontation. Dramatic, intense, and quotable. At this time in Incredi 2, the family move into a new house and Dash drowns some couches. Hey, at least he uses his super speed, but it's not used creatively. He's just a normal young boy with a boost. Then in the original, we have the parents arguing that night, thematically talking mediocrity, nostalgia for the old days, stretching in the heat of it, and getting the kids involved too. What a drama. In number 2, Elastigirl is motorcycling to the first mission. The reversal of the nostalgia trip and a sense of independence and popularity. I think this is fine here, thematic to that new dynamic and where it can lead. Alright, then Bob entertains us again in a meeting with his boss, ever the VA king, and getting shoved through full walls. He talks to Dicker, recurring kid again, plotline proposition, explosion for flair, parental chat, mission brief, mission begin, lava fight, mission dinner, and the big montage, all in the first 42 minutes. In that same time, the kids go to school, Elastigirl has her one action sequence, which is pretty good, but while Bob had the whole island and a boss fight at the end, plus fanciful briefings and mystery, Helen just goes on another chase. But her powers get some good use, the bike is cool, that didn't last long. And I guess dangling trains just runs in the family. But it's missing something else. Listen to Bob's stuff. Now listen to Helen's. The music has lost its bombastic flair, choosing to be, I don't know, more jazzy, less brassy. Just works to make things feel softer everywhere, taking a back seat, less interactive to each move, and it's quieter because of all the damn dialogue. I think it's a real detriment to the sequel. So let's switch to Jack Jack and the Raccoon. Great, the fan service we were wanting and expecting. What can this baby do? Oh, that's great, I love it! Except again, where's the music? Look at Jack Jack Attack's rendition of this gag. Is this not far more impactful? What about the laser eyes? I mean, this just sounds like the Ratatouille soundtrack. Another terrible Pixar movie. Okay, no, that was a joke. That was a joke. There is big brass bits, but it's there. Still, I count 7 powers. Cool. In the same amount of time, the original has covered so much extra ground, whilst also establishing these characters for the first time, and with so much more directional flair throughout. Endless quotable lines and memorable moments, watered down to be unsuper in the sequel. Here's your mid-vid poke to subscribe, and too much information all at once. Super. Or maybe I'm just being harsh, so I describe the founding premise of the sequel. Maybe it gets better from here. How are the next, 36 minutes? Meaty chunk number 2. Well, what happens is, at a skim, Bob does an all-nighter montage for Dash's homework. We see Tony has completely forgotten Violet, essentially restarting her entire plotline from the first movie. Elastigirl is given a TV interview, which leads into a rescue of the mayor and a helicopter sequence. Again, another chase scene, and a character that's pretty basic compared to the usual side characters. The fam have a breakfast scene where Vi teleports behind a fridge for some direction, realizing the memory wipe plot before giving us some pretty tame jokes.
Is she having adolescence?
It's clear it's a different time when it comes to the style of the screenplay and its approach to comedy, and sometimes it does land. I always love a good smash cut joke. But they have not mastered the art of the quip here. Elastigirl gets some public approval and a plan planned. Very interesting to see there. There are new supers. Finally, some funky side guys. I love their logo designs. They really hand up the cartooniness, huh? I'll never understand this new boomer generation. At least they're not boring. Can't wait to see how all these new powers are, used and combined together. Bob arranges a date at Tony's work to embarrass her and give us one nostril spectacle. And then we move on. Elastigirl gets a follow-up action sequence confronting the screenslaver while he monologues in the background, giving people across the globe epileptic issues. That's a real thing. How did no one predict that one? And it's kind of cool how her limbs go limp and her eyes can't be used, but no direction really leans into it again. You're too busy shielding your own eyes instead. Points for immersion? They're arrested. Bob gets a scene with his car for a humorous reaction. The kids learn Jack has powers. We see some of it with Lucius arriving. We go to Edna Mode, a fan favorite. Less on the quotes again, unless you count.
Yes.
But they do bring up a thematic message,
Done properly, parenting is a heroic act.
showing us 3 more superpowers and a humorous expelling. Elastigirl gets a formal event and a telling of the politics that is to come. Bob gets a heart-to-heart with Vi, saying he's unsure and wants to be a good dad, to which Vi says,
You're not good.
You're super.
"Aww." Kind of minuscule, though, if you're like, that's pretty short, right? Funnily enough, the 2 movies are only out of sync by 3 minutes here. And to be fair, the first Vi heart-to-heart was also on the small side, leaving most of the weight in the music and the posing afterwards. Interesting choice to end it on a gag here, though. Elastigirl works out the secret villain as Evelyn reveals herself. Bob wakes up refreshed, Edna gives Jack's suit display, and Elastigirl wakes up caught by the villain. That's a lot of plot for the middle 30 minutes, essentially being each kid is handled as Elastigirl takes 2 more action scenes and some politics. It's fine, but again, the kids are just being normal kids, and Elastigirl, while having the most creative powers, is shown to be doing very little new or unique. You saw what happened to the motorbike. And through it all, there's been very little actual wow factor to the visuals. I'm sure the green antenna city looked great in concept art, but so much of this pales in comparison to underwater planes, splitting waterfalls, moving pods, the gel defense system. Because yes, whilst we've had independent struggles shown here, by now, Incredi 1 has covered showing a collage of old supers, meeting our supervillain, more tech and explosion stakes, a nighttime mission, the big reveal, spliced with Helen at the same time, the kids using their powers to learn what Helen's up to, the whole plane sequence, the emotional stakes for Bob combining family powers to become a speedboat, the campsite talk, and Helen half sneaking into the realm, swinging, squishing, and tackling 4 rooms at once. This is just nuts! There's so much creativity and intrigue in every moment of these scenes. Okay, the hoovering scene you can probably skip, though it's pretty good ASMR on the ears. Still, one of the biggest things I was looking forward to was the new uses of the powers. Dash and Violet style. By having Elastigirl carted off to another city, you're severely limiting the options, and to be honest, there's nothing new here we haven't seen, and it's getting kinda stale. Is Mr. Incredible much better? he has more environmental elements, so there's more variety and actual boss fights with him. But overall, this sequel is just much less quotable or memorable. It's a by-the-numbers plotline of chasing a villain and being a father. Oh, wow. Where's the big, impactful scene? Where's the gut-wrenching turn? How are we 80 minutes into this, and yet there's so little pow, pow, pow? You know? But hey, we're at a heel turn now. Both movies have realized their villains and now need to coordinate together to take them down. And so over the final act in The Incredibles 2, we cover the grounds of Elastigirl trapped in a freezing room. A great crux for her power, admittedly. Evelyn monologuing about how supers keep people weak. Wait, so we're just back to monologuing unironically? Whatever happened to...
You got me monologuing, I can't believe it.
Incredibles was a kind of subversion of the tropes of superheroes. And this is just stripped of any message. Also, she wants to make sure supers are illegal forever, but they already are. She could have done nothing and she'd succeed. You don't need all this. Whatever. She's no Syndrome, am I right? The family enjoy Jack's powers. Bob is summoned by Evelyn. Lucius is summoned by Bob, and Honey gets another scene.
Where you going, ASAP? You better be back ASAP and leaving that suit.
Oh, were they even trying to make a joke here? Dash discovers the Incredible remote. Vi chooses to...
I renounce my renunciation.
Is this good dialogue? And all the new supers come to their residence. Finally, an action sequence that uses anybody else. Incredi 1 has had several at this point in the runtime. Everyone gets multiple. This is everyone's first, with the exception of the opening. Frozone 2. Man, couldn't it have been so cool to actually see the boys do a mission after the launch? It logically still fits in. Just for some variety. Well, variety time is now. Frozone has snow now. Cool. How do the powers combine? Dash runs eternally through portals. Shield's great for electric, bad for Crusher. Owl does... nothing. Everything is solved by ice, but the added Incredible is a great wrench in the fight. Alright, onto the boat everyone goes, as Bob is stretched, strangled, and Hypno too. Like the room, fight's a bit short, but sure. And with the final sequence, politicians and supers are all on board. More options for super spectacle? You already know the answer. Vi stealths around, Jack runs through walls, Vi versus Void, nice. Extinguisher, nice. Jack gets a gag.
He's on fire. Just put him out.
Jack goes giant in a vent and runs through walls. I do like how the hole gets smaller and Vi expands it a little bit. The world is signed to be super again, and everyone is hypnoed. And no one from the public puts it down to the goggles that are clearly intrusive. Oh, well. Boat's now heading to crash into the city, except the kids reach the adults and...
Put him down.
Oh, it was that easy? Jack's OP, man. Couldn't it have at least been Elastigirl versus the others? See who's strongest? A hint of a fight here? I guess we'll get plenty soon, as everyone conflicts together, punching through portals, shield reverse zaps, ice versus lava, pew pew ow, and Dash is perfect. At the same time, God, these are tiny fights. Just perfect puzzle pieces coming together. Somewhat satisfying, but also flat at the same time. Give me combinations. The parents combine for Brick, but like, we don't even see Dash and Violet as the rolling bull. That was revolutionary. Even child me knew this is what I was waiting for. Everyone's saved. Elastigirl hesitates before believing in her family. Everyone works to detour the bus. Crusher gets a great gag.
You want me to uncrush? What if I say to untouch someone? What do you do?
But his fight is lackluster too. One projectile? Seriously? Elastigirl is voided up to the jet. Teamwork, but on a minimal scale, as Vi turns around and says,
I should stay here with Jack.
That's my girl.
Is that supposed to be a development? Someone has to stay back and babysit and it's her? Because she's a defensive Huh? This hasn't even been mentioned for 98 minutes. And to beat the villain, you just shoot him out of the plane. Though I do like that she keeps fighting while parachuted down. The boat is stopped, and Elastigirl gives us...
I missed Jack's first power.
And the happy ending ensues. Teenage political commentary, young boys and their toys, villain arrested, and Tony on date attempt number 2. You know, like we had the last time. All the while, the family look at each other in hero prep, turned into another gag since Tony's in the middle of it. That's fun. All for a petty crime, all to loop us back to Incredi 1. Sure. It's better, but I mean, for a climax, it is just much of the same. And with so many moving super parts, it feels a little stretched too thin. The fights aren't grand or metaphorical. You don't need me to tell you this, but the finale of the original had a family bickering over the TV remote. That's the relatable wink wink nudge nudge for you there. Here, the family exists because it's generic action for the ending. Incredi 1 gives us an emotional reunion, the kids at full capacity. Does Dash do anything at all in this movie? Not a peep. And he's the most fun character when unchained. You're telling me the guy who could run on water had no such sequence on the water? No owl chasing him, or Evelyn's jet, or one of the new supers having a speed-related thing to rival Dash in a battle of momentum. Instead, we get 2 strength guys, on top of the one we already have, 2 elementals, portal pockets that do nothing else, an owl. There's no big family together fight, or if there is, it's too detached and certainly not milk for some fan service. In Incredi 1, they argue over driving. Here,
fight now, talk later.
There's also the emotional spin of
Not what?
I'm not strong enough.
Strong enough, and this will make you stronger?
Yes.
But in Incredi 2,
Go. We've got this.
surely it makes more sense for Bob to say this. The kids would have always thought this considering how they were at the start of the film, and do a group hug or something. Incredi 1 keeps stakes high with characters seemingly losing. Incredi 2 has no such tension, other than the thought that Void might accidentally shave off Elastigirl's arm. And I think in general, the format of one group taking down one target is just vastly better than the group spread out on separate tasks that don't interact. And with that one-er ending sorted, no bonus piece like the original, there's no Dash epilogue, just straight to the next threat, and then the end credits. Incredibles 2 is just another movie. In becoming a sequel, it shedded its skin of the parody, the creativity, the spectacle and flair, the messaging, the characters, the quotability, the soundtrack intensity, the memorable moments, and the family dynamic in that final act, poking on the glory days of its predecessor.
You know, after we went underground, my husband used to listen to a police scanner.
And referencing sounds when underwater? It's a mediocre movie. Or if you want to debate some people, it's a terrible Incredibles movie. But hey, at least I got my childhood dream of seeing Jack's other powers. I should have already known that this was the real Incredibles 2. That's enough rambling from me. I've filled a lot of pages in prose here. My name's been Dazz. You didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit.